Hello and welcome to the New York Empire podcast presented by Greatest Ultimate Bag. I'm Dan Hilton. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by not one, but two second-year Empire players. Making his return to the show, it's John Lithio, and making his Empire podcast debut, Solomon Rueschemeyer-Bailey. How's it going, guys?
Good, Dan. Good to be here.
Well, we're going to start with the serious business here, right? We're going to start with your rookie seasons. We're going to go back to 2021 on the Empire. And Saul, you'll get the first one here. I'll ask you, you finished with 12 assists, 10 goals, and a plus 11 on the season. But more importantly, a 97%, bordering on 98% completion percentage, playing largely on the offensive line, almost 200 O points, but still 76 D points too. And looking at your rookie season, what skill do you think you came in with that helped you adapt to the AUDL game as fast as you did?
Yeah, that's a good question, Dan. I would say I'm not one to turn it over too much. And I think that's pretty applicable, especially on the AUDL field, which is so much bigger than youth and college and club. I don't think there really should be many turnovers, if any. So I think it's a pretty useful asset to not turn it over. And that goes both for offense and defense, because offenses do turn it over. So when you get the diss on defense and you don't turn it over, it's good for your team. So that's definitely something I think helped me, as I joined last year.
Yeah, and John, a similar question: 45 goals, 10 assists, 7 blocks for you. And I guess other than being 6'5", because I'm not going to count that as a skill, unfortunately for you. But what skill do you think helped you acclimate to the league so quickly? I mean, really being a member of that O-line consistently.
Yeah, you took my answer. But I'd say just general field awareness, being able to kind of play off where other people are and finding that open space. And so like with our O-line especially, you can kind of pretty much run to any open space. And even if it's like a difficult throw for most people, they'll probably find a way to get it there. So makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah, and let's follow up on that, John. You did exclusively play, as I said, on the O-line last season, just 3 D points all year. And I think with that comes the heavy burden of always being expected, as Saul said, to complete your mission, to score on every single possession. And playing for a winning team like the Empire meant that there were some big moments for you this past season. There were winning plays, like the block you had against Raleigh in that game that went to double overtime. And then some didn't go your way, like the huck at the end of regulation in the same Raleigh game and the ending of that game down at Atlanta as well. That they were just so close. How do you think being a part of those big moments will help you moving forward in year 2?
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, just the more exposure you have to those types of big moments, the more normal they seem. And so I'm thinking, like, as I go on, the more normal they'll feel, I'll just be able to play right through it and hopefully step up a bit better in every moment this next year.
Yeah, I've got a tough one now for both of you. I've actually, throughout this new series in 2022, I've been asking the players about each other. But usually it's a case of 2 players, and we've been pairing them together with players that played together for a long time, for years, and either on Boston Ironside or wherever it's been throughout time. But you two are rather new to each other's games. So as far as not knowing anything about each other, I mean, Saul, how did you profile when you were seeing him, that being John Lithio, for the first time in an Empire uniform, and figuring out how you guys were going to mesh together? What did that process look like for 2 rookies?
Yeah, I think the first time I met Lithio was at it was playing mini or something in McCarran Park. And I had never seen or heard of him before, but I was like, wow, this guy's pretty good. And I think I like how reliable Lithio is, in that I feel like I'm comfortable throwing him the disc, and he's gonna get it, not let his defender get in the way and block it or anything. And then also once he has it, he's not going to make, generally speaking, he's not going to make bad decisions when he has it.
Yeah. Then John, the same question to you for getting to play with Saul.
Yeah, I had that same mini game in mind. So if I was a bit more plugged into the Ultimate College scene, I probably would have known who Saul was going in. But yeah, I mean, at that mini game, I was like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. And he's throwing it around. He's pretty much like he was saying before, when he has the disc, you can be pretty confident he's not going to turn it over. He's going to make good decisions. He's going to get open when he doesn't have it, and when he's on defense, he's going to compete really hard and smart. So, great teammate to have.
Well, I would send people back to the previous conversation, John, that we had with you last season when you had to sit in the hot seat for a full, 20 to 30 minutes with me. So Saul, there was never a solo show with you last year. So the next few questions are all about getting to know Solomon Rueschemeyer-Bailey. And we're going to head not too far back, but just far back enough to your Amherst high school days playing soccer, basketball, and ultimate. You were also valedictorian. I want to throw that in there too, which is pretty nuts that you conquered all those things all at the same time at Amherst High School. So I'm not surprised, but what was the learning curve for you joining Brownie in Motion, a team that, was kind of, I wouldn't say they were in a rebuilding phase, but winning the 2005 national championship was a while since when you joined the team then.
Yeah, I think coming from Amherst was an adjustment. We were the best high school team in the country at that time for Frisbee, maybe ever. I think a lot of people might say that. We played one game against Jeff's UMass team, and I can't remember what the score is, like 15-10 or 15-12 or something. And they were the number one ranked college team in the country. So that was an incredible game. That was really fun. But anyway, transitioning into college, I think it helped that I had played in a really competitive environment, like the high school, for my high school team, the scrimmages and practices and workouts were all really intense and everyone was kind of out for blood. With each other. And so I think that level of competitiveness helped as I transitioned into the college game, just working hard, getting my teammates to work hard. And like you said, it was a rebuilding phase, and there are a lot of people who deserve credit, a couple years older than me and coming down into my year, in terms of just like really making sure the team was disciplined and working hard all year round, and it brought us a championship, and the team's looking great this year too. So I'm excited to watch them as the season goes on.
Well, yeah, going from Amherst then in your freshman season at Brown, missing out on nationals. So how do you think that missing out on nationals helped you get to the national championship in 2019?
Yeah, I remember after we didn't make it, it was tough. We were in a one bid region with a solid UMass team, and I was just thinking to myself, "Wow, I got to make sure we never miss nationals again because this sucks." Like watching the games, I think, yeah, that was the year maybe Jack had that crazy game against UNC, my freshman year, and I was just thinking, "Dang, we gotta be there every year from now on." And I think really the whole team bought in after being so close, losing to UMass in the game to go in 2017. And we just worked insanely hard, had great leadership and coaches, and made it happen.
Yeah, John, let me give you one before we go back to bothering Saul more about his time at Brown and everything. So reiterating what we did talk about, John, in our last podcast, you and I did, and a question actually that came in from Coach Hoppus. How did playing at a school like Hope College and playing for a regionals level club team prepare you for not being afraid of the big names and big games? Because again, you hear someone like Solomon Rueschemeyer-Bailey and Jack Williams and Ryan Osgar and Ben Yacht and Jeff Babbitt. I mean, guys all played at collegiate programs that were either they won national championship, they were ranked number one overall, or they did what Jack Williams did for UNCW. And yet you're coming from Hope College, and yet you're playing all alongside those big names in those big games that we talked about.
Yeah, so I'd say playing at Hope probably didn't prepare me a lot for that. We kind of barely had a team most of the time. And we had some like good pickup games and stuff, but weren't playing many like super high level games. I might take it back a little further to like high school basketball, where we played against a few like future NBA players or something. And looking back, you can see like, well, we actually performed pretty well against this team, and like we beat a couple of them. So, they're all just players too. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. So you just go out and do the best you can.
Yeah, it's interesting, John, growing up where you grew up in the Chicago area. And then, I've mentioned before, like being from rural Pennsylvania, I had to learn about what the ultimate collegiate top level scene looked like and was like. And then again, you have someone in you with Solomon who you're just completely plugged into that. Because I know, I mean, even this past season, I want to talk about that, Saul. You face off against a number of Flyers on that UNC dark side team. Can't get rid of them, just can't get them out of your on the opposing line. But what did you take from your year with the Empire back to Brown for your final run at Nationals?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just having the extra year and a half of maturity, both on and off the field, was helpful for still being a leader for the younger guys. It was because it was the kids who were freshmen when I was a senior, they were juniors, or they are juniors now, sort of. Obviously, a bunch of them reclassed or whatever because of COVID, but it was the same team, and I felt lucky to have non-college experience that I could call back to and help guide them in their journey and on their way to win more national championships.
Yeah, well, I guess you're a good person to ask for this as well. Was it odd or was it weird in any way to have, say true freshmen who are, they were 17 entering college in the fall and they're 18 now. And very rarely on those big, if you're at nationals, very rarely you're playing a lot of freshmen. It doesn't happen very often. There are some freshmen or true freshmen, if you will, 18, 19 years old. But yeah, was it weird having these college teams where you could have anywhere from a true freshman 18, and then because of reclassifying and COVID and everything, some of the other players on the opposing team would be 23, 24 years old, right? And it's just, was that a little weird at nationals this season?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have any super young guys on our team, but I think across the board, the fall nationals was a little sloppier than usual because of the truncated season, yeah, no, it was just like weird dynamics, and I don't know how other teams dealt with it, but I guess they managed.
All right, John, going back to the Empire real quick. Obviously, if anyone who's paying attention to the beginning of this podcast, you have a reputation, as does Saul, as being rather soft-spoken. So how do you manage, and Saul, you can jump in after John, how do you manage all the huge personalities on the Empire? You think, I mean, just easy to fit in when there's all those big personalities, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, everyone is perfectly easy to get along with. You sometimes kind of imagine something different from the outside. You see people, how they act on the field and stuff. But I mean, when you're just playing with them or just interacting with them on the sideline or off the field entirely, like it's totally easy. Just, everyone's just people. You just go about your business. Yeah.
Well, it's all kind of following up on that. Because you guys are so calm, I mean, they're really positive words to use here, right? I could say you guys are calm, you guys are stoic, you guys never look nervous in the moment. But in the same way, do teammates ever expect from either of you a little bit more, right? Like a little bit of something. And this could even be not now, but I mean, Saul, again, you were expected to be a leader at Brown as you were captain for 3 years, right? Like have teammates and anything ever kind of expected more from you to almost show that you care, even though the truth is to play at the highest level, that calm and that serenity you seem to have, never really getting shaken by the moment. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should ask our teammates if they think we should be doing more. But no, I think our teammates trust that when we're on the field, when we're in practice, we're working really hard. And I think, if Lithio's a quiet guy, and so if he does say something, then it probably is going to carry a lot more weight with everyone who's listening. So I think that's one advantage. And I think even being on the quieter side, you can still push the level of intensity for the team. And I think that's something that Lithio and I can can improve on this coming year. Just bringing up the intensity in practices and games and stuff.
All right. Yeah. I mean, those are the big moments. Now, some of the lesser moments, if you will, Saul, another one for you here. If I were to ask what's the secret to a Rubik's Cube and what's the secret to warming up before a game, and John, you can answer this if Saul doesn't answer himself. Are those answers related? The secret to Rubik's Cube and the secret to a warm up?
It would appear so. I don't know the secret to a Rubik's Cube, but apparently the secret to a warm up is to not do it, mostly, for Saul at least.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big believer. You just gotta get the heart rate up. You gotta get the body temperature up. Our great trainer Erwin has talked about that, and I'm really bought into that. And sometimes I like doing the Rubik's Cube before the game. Gets the hands warmed up. Frisbees played with your hands, not your feet. So, yeah, get that, and then just like get mentally calm and dialed in and ready to play.
Well, now I do have to ask, what is the secret to the Rubik's Cube? You just have it memorized and that's it? Or do you?
Yeah, I practiced a lot in like elementary school and middle school, and maybe even a little bit of high school. And then I forgot about it for a while. And this summer I was working remotely and sitting in meetings and kind of bored. So I ordered a Rubik's Cube, and I was just kind of doing it under my desk while I was sitting in the meetings. And that got me back into it.
Well, I'm glad you brought up jobs. So off the field in your day jobs, and I really need you guys to be engaging on this one. So don't lose me either. But what's the difference between what you do, Saul, as a data engineer, and then what you do, John, as a data scientist? So John, I'll let you go first on this one. You do have different positions, but the very scary word, actually, correct me, is it data or data in this sense as well? So help me out.
I don't know the technically correct. I always say data, but yeah. So data science, I'm doing more of like the analysis and modeling of the data. Saul would be doing all of the processing before that. So I kind of take what Saul would be outputting and take it from there.
Yeah, I've also always said data, but I have no idea what's correct and what's not. I would say John probably does more critical thinking and analysis, and I'm more solving problems in the pipeline. Like I'll see one piece of data gets messed up when it gets transferred from one place to another. I have to figure out why it is. And John's really deriving great insights for people.
Excellent business speak.
Well, John, adding to that, though, I don't want to give away any of the trade secrets, of course, or things that you've done with and for the Empire. But how has your experience as a data scientist, then you got me saying it, as a data scientist, how has that been incorporated into your life in Ultimate?
Yeah, I put together a little project last year looking at some of the stats. So I put together like a dashboard. Since there was which Ben Nelson has been doing a ton of work on that this winter, and the site has a lot more stats now. But we got like some like heat maps and like
don't give away too much, John.
We didn't give away the URL
and where they are. The advantages might be that the Empire have a heat map. So yeah, that's
so it was a fun project. It was enjoyable to look at, also helpful to have on my resume.
Yeah, I mean, for people like me, I could tell you that colors are very exciting, not just numbers. So colors and shapes, they really do keep everything engaged. So, all right, let's have a little bit of fun with wrapping this show up. I've been doing these lightning round things, but we're going to try to keep the fire that's been fueled that is going on about this AUDL basketball team debate. So I obviously with you two, I know that even no matter what you say here, your other teammates are going to be the shield for you. So you're allowed to talk as much smack or get into as much as you want about this AUDL basketball argument. The argument is that the Empire might be the best, but if you were to play on the unofficial, and you do both play, I want to make that clear too. You both play on the unofficial, it must be said, Empire basketball team. So consider this a little bit of a basketball lightning round on an Empire podcast, but I do want to hear about the similarities and differences between the Empire with a disc and the Empire with the rock. And first, for both of you, you have to be honest here. In your honest opinion, do you think that Empire team would beat all comers in the league? Of just avoiding seeing some of the athletes and some of the other players around the league?
Yeah, without a doubt, we'd be the best AUDL basketball team. And if we can make it work logistically in the season, we'll happily take on anyone and beat them handily.
Yep, I'm there with you.
Again, that's unofficial, unsanctioned ADL basketball tournaments. But for context, there are 9 present or former AUDL players, or that being Empire players, being the 2 of you, Jack Williams, Babbitt, Katz, Yacht, Osgar, Matt Cat Stevens, and Connor Klein as well. So as far as this team, breaking down who's who, John, who is the go-to guy in the first quarter to set the tempo of the game?
To set the tempo, I'll be doing a lot of the shooting. But setting the tempo, though, we might have Saul's been talking a lot of press in these past few games. So we're trying to get teams hurried up, use our athleticism a bit.
Yeah, we've been working on it. Lithio definitely sets the tempo across the board. He's first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. If we get into an OT game, Lithio's the guy.
Well, that's what I mean. I know the answer to a lot of these questions are Lithio, so I tried to shake it up a little bit. So who's the best 3-point shooting threat?
Lithio.
So it is Lithio. Okay, because we've seen the Instagram of Jack Williams trying to drain some shots in the gym, but is Jack a 2-point specialist, or is he the number 2 option, or is there a second option?
Oh, he's a good slasher. He's a much better slasher than I am. And I mean, he just came to his first game yesterday, so I'll have to see how the 3-point shooting comes along. But he's a good shooter too. Yeah.
He's still a bit of an unknown quantity. I'm excited to see how it plays out for him in warmups. He was probably 20 for 20, and then in game he was more of a work in progress. He'll do better next game, Jack.
So I want to make sure that even if, John, you're the answer to the rest of these questions, I obviously, if you are the answer, you give that, and then I want you to give a number 2 as well. Just assume, John, that you've decided to give another teammate a chance. So other than yourself, who would take the final shot if there was one in a close game?
Yeah, me. Then, I think Jack had some big buckets yesterday, and Connor Klein is a pretty good pull-up shooter.
Yeah, we ran the end of the other game. We actually ran a fake play to Lithio, screen up high for Yacht rolling down to the basket, and he kind of got fouled, but they didn't call it. That's all right.
All right. Well, trying to break down a little bit of the non-Lithio stuff, obviously, most of it runs through John. But other than Lithio, who's most likely to net a triple-double? And then I'll have an ultimate follow-up for that. But yeah, who's most likely to net a triple-double?
I'm going to give that one to Jeff. He'll get the 10 rebounds. He does get a decent number of assists too. Wouldn't be shocked if he got 10 blocks in some game. Then sometimes he gets up to 10 points too.
So you're agreeing?
Yeah, definitely. He's kind of like Dennis Rodman type, but he'll finish around the basket. Decent amount, gets putbacks, gets all the rebounds. Yesterday he was guarding this guy who was probably 6'8", 270. You think that's an underestimate, Lithio? Maybe like 6'10", 300, but big guy hanging with him underneath.
Big boy. Yep.
Yeah, you just have to make sure that your oppositions understanding you guys have a AUDL, a professional season upcoming, of course. So follow up to that, who's most likely in the Empire to get a triple-double of goals, assists, and blocks, which is something that we don't have yet in the AUDL, but I guess you could call it one.
Wow, that would be quite a game. Blocks. It's the one that puts up all the stats. I think he's the easy choice here. I think whenever we turn it, he's often getting a block coming back around the other way, and he'll get the 10 goals, and he'll put it up enough to get the 10 assists too.
Yeah, maybe 5-5-5 would be the
a little easier.
Yeah,
got in there for that one.
Yeah, a triple half, if you will. All right. So as far as composure, I know you guys are all pretty composed, even with the basketball. But who do you trust the most if the game came down to just free throws?
Lithio.
All right, John. Unfortunately, John, I'm fouling you out of the game here. John is fouled out of the game. He's on the bench, unfortunately. Early shower. So who's going to take those clutch free throws?
Let's see. I'm going to give it to Saul. He loves the big moment.
Yeah, I'm not bad at free throws.
Yeah,
a lot of practice free throws in my time, high school, stuff like that.
So we have been talking about John Lithio being the best player on the Empire basketball team. So Saul, for those who won't ever see John Lithio lace him up on the hardwood, how would you describe his game? You don't have to compare it to Ultimate, but just do you have comparisons, or how would you explain the big man?
I would say player comp would be like a cross between LeBron and Michael Jordan. Kind of a do-it-all guy. He can play the 1, he can play the 5. He can shoot contested threes, pull up from anywhere, mid-range jumpers. He has post moves like the best of them. He's kind of got some of like Jokic's craftiness in his game. He finds passing lanes that other people would never dream of. Then he plays good defense, like Marcus Smart style intensity. So, a lot of good attributes from different players.
Okay. Sure, you don't want to throw in like Bill Russell or Kareem or anything like that.
No, we haven't won a championship yet. So.
Yeah, I'd say, John, your teammate just gave you 10 MVPs, NBA MVPs. So that's a pretty good compliment. And then, so John, do you think the opposing team has a harder job remembering that Saul is left-handed during Ultimate or basketball?
Should be on the scouting report for Ultimate. But I'll go with basketball. I've seen him make a couple right-handed layups. And he'll drive to the right, actually. So, yeah, basketball. He's happy to take to the hoop, and he'll shoot a few threes where it's obvious that he's lefty, but he finishes with either hand.
Yeah, and Saul, in the AUDL, with the defenders being a bit better, obviously being a bit longer, a bit more athletic, a bit more experience, did you find any of the advantages that you would have had in high school or in college being left-handed? Did you find that was drying up in the AUDL?
It's definitely harder to throw against a double team. Other than that, though, people still get kind of confused by the whole lefty thing, even if they know it's coming. And then, people still aren't that great at marking across the board. I think that's kind of a deficiency in the sport right now that might change in the next 10 years. But it's also very, very difficult to have a good mark because there's so much space to throw to. But I do like the double team rule, and it makes things more interesting, and it definitely reduces the advantages of being a lefty.
Well, now for both of you, this season, entering year 2 in 2022, looking to for you too, it would be your first AUDL championship, having seen the team win in 2019. So, I mean, what do you, as individuals? I mean, of course, the team goal is to win the championship, but how do you see both of your roles in the 2022 season upcoming? And John, I think yours might be a bit easier to answer here, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, we'll see how the lines shake out this year. We got a lot of talent, but maybe something similar to last year. Or if I'm on offense, I'll be working off of our stars. They make it kind of easy to get open since they're drawing 2 people all the time. So just continuing to do that, make smart decisions when I have the disc. Yeah, hopefully get some turns when I'm on D.
Yeah, and Saul?
Yeah, Lithio, you are one of those stars. You're the guy drawing double coverage.
Well, now, I mean, you may joke, but now there's more footage on both of you. I think that's something, as you mentioned, in the scout. But I mean, I'm talking to players from other teams, and they're watching now. John Lithio is not coming out of nowhere like you did against DC in game 1 last year. Now people know who John Lithio is. And same thing with, Saul, again, they had some tape from Brown, but I think people are really looking at how you fit into the Empire O-line in particular, where you played the majority of your role last year.
Yeah, and that's something that remains to be seen. No clue how the lines are going to shake out, but I'm still going to do my thing. Take good care of the disc, play hard defense. Being really a good athlete, a tough cover, we'll see how that plays out. I think Lithio and I, like I mentioned before, are gonna push the intensity this year, and that's gonna help us win the championship, which we will do. Put that on the record here. We're gonna win this year.
Never short on confidence there.
Yep. So that is the goal again for John Lithio and Solomon Rueschemeyer-Bailey. It'll be their second in the Empire, but it would be their first AUDL championship. That's the goal this season for these two. But for now, I want to thank you both for joining the show and I mean, getting through it. So Saul, it was your first appearance. John, 2 for you. And so thanks also to the listeners as this wraps up another edition of the New York Empire podcast from the entire New York Empire family. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.